Good afternoon guys, it's Andy here, the Mad Tatter, back at you with my second YouTube video. First and foremost, I just got to say, I've already made this video once, but the cheap rendering software I used only actually rendered 60 seconds of it after I'd spent ages creating the video and then trying to sort it out to go on YouTube, etc. So I'm now going back to a tried and true method of pointing my phone camera at the laptop screen and going through this PowerPoint presentation on there with you. So hopefully this works okay. From the last video, I think my phone's microphone is actually better than the audio I captured on the laptop anyway, so hopefully you'll get a bit of a clearer, less interrupted audio. So first and foremost, just to talk about my previous video. Thank you all so much. I am absolutely blown away by what it's received in that short space of time. Just under a week, I've had 125 views, 13 likes, 3 comments and 15 subscribers. Just to put that into perspective, my expectation, I was thinking maybe I'd get about 50 views in that first week. If I got a couple of subscribers, I'd be really lucky, and I certainly wasn't expecting likes or comments. So to have got everything that I have got has just absolutely smashed my expectations. So that's just a massive thank you to each and every one of you who's liked the video, shared the video, commented on it on social media, commented on it on YouTube. Can't thank you all enough. So hopefully this is the start of something that I'm going to get better at. And you know, you guys can come on the journey with me. Just to point out who I am for anybody who's new to the channel, and this is the first video of mine that you've seen. My name's Andy. I'm the Mad Tatter, and I am a UK-based reseller in Cheshire, which is northwest UK. So I'm just going to give a few shout-outs now, both from my last video and in general. The first shout-out has to go to John, Resale Rabbit. John was the first YouTuber I ever saw doing reselling, and the person who introduced it to me as being a potential way of life and a way to earn my living. Without John, I'd not be doing what I'm doing now. I've learned so much from him, and he seems like such a nice, down-to-earth guy, really genuine. He has a very, very successful business in the States as well. He's based in Green Bay, Wisconsin. If you've not checked out his channel and you're a new reseller or even an established reseller, you need to check him out. I mean, my ambition, if YouTube becomes quote-unquote a thing for me, my ambition really is to be the UK Rabbit. And if I ever get anywhere near that, I love it. It'd be like living the dream. So massive thanks to John for inspiring me to completely change my life for the better and do what I'm doing now. Definitely go out and check out his channel. Also, big shout out to Cookie and the Haydens YouTube channel, specifically Chris and Belle. There are a couple of resellers who are very local to me. They're probably my most local YouTubing resellers, if I think about it. They're just down the road from me. They very, very kindly, these car boot Chris and Belle, they very, very kindly let me plug my first video on a live stream on their channel, and I do think that's responsible for a lot of the traction and sort of traffic that I got early on, certainly responsible for my first subscribers. So massive thanks to them. Check out their channel, they've got some great information, they're dead nice guys, and they have a good laugh on their live streams too. A couple of honourable mentions. Money Mental UK, Andrew, the chap that runs that channel, he's quite well known in the UK reselling community. Nice guy, knowledgeable guy, good channel. And another shout out to No Mean Seller, who's one of my recent subscribers. He's a smaller YouTube channel, but he's been documenting his reselling journey rather from day one. And he also inspired me to get off my bum and start sorting out some computer games and video games that I've got sitting waiting to be sorted. So there's a few shout outs. So I'm going to move on to today's video. Today's video is a sales roundup. It's my first 10 days in April. This was my first 10 days in April up to about midday on the 10th of April. There were quite a few sales and stuff after that, and I've obviously done quite a bit since. One thing I will just mention before I get into this, and it's a little bit of a caveat in terms of my profit figures. I'm currently paying higher than normal PayPal fees. The reason for this is I've taken advantage of PayPal Working Capital, which is a sort of cash injection loan you can get from PayPal, and you pay it back through an agreed level of increase in your fees. I set the bar really high on the payback. because I didn't want to be sat paying this off forever. But what it's actually done for my business is something I'll go into in another video, but it's allowed me to scale up my business really, really quickly. So it has definitely been worth forfeiting a certain amount of my profit, but if I was to do it again, I probably wouldn't have set the repayment percentage as high as I have done. So that's my fees. My profit figures are going to look a little bit lower than they perhaps should do. But that being said, we'll get on with the video and start going through a few items here. So the first one here, yeah, this is an Adidas NBA Swingman jersey. Swingman's just a model name. This was a brand new and tagged item. It's the Golden State Warriors basketball team, and the player name and number, it was number 30, Steph Curry. Stephen Curry is a basketball player I've heard the name of. I am by no means an authority on basketball, and I actually know very little about it as a sport. If we were talking baseball, I'd have more of an idea, because that was kind of something that I used to stay up till stupid o'clock watching as a kid. But basketball, it's never really caught my imagination the same. I'd heard of Steph Curry. Had it not been a player that I'd heard of, would I have bought this? I don't know. I probably would, because it was a brand new and tagged Adidas item, so they generally always do okay. Buyer sent me an offer on this one. I sent back a counter offer. Basically, if a buyer sends an offer, I will always counter offer. It's the car salesman in me that wants to win. And I always want to sort of have the last word on my deals. Unless somebody sends a really reasonable offer through straight away that I'll generally just accept, I will always go, you know, back with a counter offer. Had positive feedback on that one as well. So that's nice. Next item. This is another excuse me, brand new and tagged Adidas item, 2014 Ryder Cup Gleneagles jumper. Now, interestingly, the tag inside this, the stitched in tag, it did have the Adidas logo on it, as you'd expect, but it also had a little tailor-made golf badge on there as well. So I'm not sure if this is some sort of collaboration piece, or maybe it's been made by Adidas for TaylorMade, who've then supplied it to the Ryder Cup. I didn't really know the history on it, in all honesty. Put it up at $37.99. Total profit after shipping and fees on that one's $19.60. I just realised I didn't go through the figures quickly there on the last one. So let's just do that one really quickly. Sold for $54.99 on the offer there, and total profit after shipping and fees was $26.51. The item cost me £7. Obviously, I'd have made considerably more on it had it not been for my PayPal repayment. So yeah, back to the golf jersey. Sold that one for $37.99. I looked at what similar things were selling for and kind of priced high, to be honest with you. I will always, unless it's an item that there's just thousands and thousands of on there where it pays to be a bit cheaper, I'll always try and price myself in the upper third of prices that are available. I think you're selling yourself short if you try going too cheap, and I always think that if you're too cheap, people wonder why you're so cheap and maybe don't buy from you. It's just a kind of a weird psychological thing that I kind of thought, but I don't know. Interestingly on this one, the lady that I bought it from at a local car boot, all the stuff on her stall was kind of a $5 and upwards. She had some really nice quality gear, in all fairness, but not all my sort of stuff. So everything being around about a $5, this was hung on the end of a rail, brand new with tags. I was expecting it to be considerably more than a $5. I asked her how much it was, and she said, oh, it's quite old now, it's 2014, so you can have it for £1.50. So I was more than happy with that, snapped her hand off. And yeah, sold it really quickly as well. I think about 2 days after listing, $37.99, $19.60 profit. Next item. We've got BT Vision UV remote. This was part of the bundle. I showed you a few remotes on my first video. This was part of the same bundle, but it had already sold when I was making the video. So hence why it wasn't in that video, in the haul aspect of things. Again, I said about there, you can buy them for pence and sell them for pounds. This is proof of that. Cost me 30p, sold it for $12.99. With shipping, after shipping and fees, made $6.77 on it. Also, interestingly, on this one, the buyer paid postage. I'm experimenting with charging postage on a few items that I wouldn't normally charge postage on, just to make up the cost on the increased Royal Mail fees. Rather than charging £4 on an item, which I think just psychologically sounds a lot more than $3.95, I've started charging postage on items that I wouldn't have normally charged postage on, just to kind of cover the deficit that way. And so far, so good. It seems to be working for me. So, and people are, it's not slowed down any of my sales. People are still buying. I think as long as you're reasonable with your postage charges, you're not really going to have too many problems. Next one is men's North Face trainers. Yeah, this was one that I shot myself in the foot with completely. I sat on them for a while. They had a really intricate pattern on the soles. It's like a zigzaggy kind of Greek key type pattern. And in there were a lot of little stones in there, even after I'd given the shoes a good scrub clean with a stiff brush and some soapy water and all of that lot. Scrubbed all the soles up. There were a lot of little stones in there, so I had to go through them all with a dental pick and get them all out. But the amount of time that I left it doing that, when I bought these shoes, I was expecting to be able to sell them for about sort of 40, maybe 50 quid, because they were on the North Face's website for around about 80 to 90 from memory. But I sat on them for that long that by the time I came to list them, the North Face had put them in their sale and they were selling the same shoes brand new for 50 quid. So that kind of shot my aspirations down a little bit on the price I was going to get for those. But because they were a discontinued colour, and I think they're a particularly nice colourway in the red and blue, I think I was still able to kind of be a little bit cheeky and still get 30 quid for them. Paid £6 for those, made £12.01 after shipping and fees, and they sold the same day I listed them. So this is a lesson in not sitting on products, you know. Just sometimes you've got to kind of give yourself a kick up the bum and you know, get motivated to do these things, because had I not left that, they wouldn't have gone in the North Face sale. They would have probably still sold the same day as they did, and I'd have made more on them. But I got positive feedback off the buyer, so it's not all bad. It's happy days in that respect. Next item. Oh God, don't get me started on this one. This nearly institutionalised me. I had a lot of Transformers and similar sort of complicated sci-fi, robot-y, fighty type toys when I was a kid, and I never remember struggling with them or having any major issues dealing with them or anything like that. But this one, my God, it took me so long to figure out how it all went together. I even went as far as to download a PDF of instructions off Hasbro's website, and it was like trying to read hieroglyphics. They don't tell it you in any kind of sensible way whatsoever. So in the end, I just had to kind of look at it from the point of view of, well, I know what a truck looks like, so let's try and fold this guy up and make him look like a truck. And I got there after what is probably a shockingly ashameable amount of time for a 35-year-old man to have taken to do such a thing. So yeah, sold for £3. Sold for £3, but yeah, cost for £3, sold for $19.99, made $8.40 after shipping and fees. Again, buyer paid postage on that one, and definitely a lesson there in how old I've become. Next item, yeah, Casio Scientific Calculator. So Resale Rabbit, shout out to John again. He put me on to the idea, well, he put all of his viewers, when I say put me on, I did get the inspiration from there. It wasn't sort of some personal advice he gave me, but put me onto graphing calculators, and graphing calculators do really well. I actually picked up another one today. I picked up my first Texas Instruments one today. I've sold Casio ones before, but I picked up my first Texas Instruments today, so hopefully that's going to do quite well. I tried a couple of Scientifics just because they were relatively cheap, and I think the money was probably burning a hole in my pocket at the time. So I thought I'll give them a go. Again, there's something that would have done a lot better had I not been paying the PayPal working capital back there. But cost $1.49, sold for $6.99, and profit was $2.32 on that. Buyer paid postage, but it went for a large letter. And really, they don't take a whole lot of postage. Bit of bubble wrap around them, and once you've got that hard shell casing on there, they're pretty sturdy, so you've not got too much to worry about on that front. I think the fact that this one was pink as well helped it sell, because a lot of the others that I've got are grey and white. Next item, ladies Billabong Parker. This was one that I was a little bit surprised about in many respects, because it sold on a really, really nice day, and it was the last day I ever expected to sell a big heavy winter Parker. Notice there that I've put RRP 160 in the title. If I can ever find the RRP of items, or what the items were selling for, I'll generally put it in there just so people get an idea of what sort of deal they're getting from me. I'm not saying you should do this, not saying you shouldn't do it, but it's certainly, you know, something that I've been doing for a little while. Knee-length Parker, I had it up at $69.99. This was one of those instances where somebody shot me what I felt was a reasonable offer, so I just accepted it straight away. A lady offered me $60 for it. I thought, well, Parkers and heavy winter coats are probably going to start tailing off a little bit now. So, you know, £60 is reasonable. Certainly on an item that only cost me a tenner. Again, after my shipping and fees on that one, made $23.94. Free postage though on that one, so I stood the cost there. Next, TomTom data and charge cable. This was part of my bundle of remotes and peripherals that I showed you in the first video. A bad sponsored listing, I do think, helped sell this. If you search for this cable via that number there, the 4CQ number, you'll see that there's a sponsored listing up there, and I genuinely think the guy's meant to put it up at $11.99 and just not checked, and his listing actually says that it's $119.99, and there is no way in a month of Sundays that's worth $119.99 unless it's somehow full of diamonds and I missed it. But $7.99, I was quite happy to put it down at that price. It cost me 20p as it worked out off the back of the bundle. Sold for $7.99, made $5.41 profit there, and buyer paid postage as well at $2.95 large letter. Next, FCHew men's body spray. Yeah, these were doing okay over Christmas and things like that. People buy them for gifts, but they also buy them to wear themselves to Christmas parties, office parties and things like that. Also for summer holidays, they do okay. One of those items that has actually, it's kind of all but wiped out the profit on it by being in the PayPal working capital. I've made 12p on it, so not lost anything, and 12p is 12p, I guess. So it's not too bad in that respect, but yeah, the working capital thing has kind of killed that a little bit. Buyers paid $3.95 postage on that as well, which is second class recorded. I always make a point in my listings of anything that's an aerosol or a cosmetic or anything like that, that due to Royal Mail restrictions, they have to be sent in a box, so they have to be ultimately sent as a parcel due to the sizes of them. And that, I've never had any complaints over the price of postage on things like that from doing that, and I actually received positive feedback from the buyer on that one as well. Next one, again, DVDs. There was something that I kind of just used to keep ticking over and just keep sales and feedback coming in. Generally always get feedback off people that buy DVDs. It's a strange one. They're not high value items, but in my experience, people who've bought them have always left feedback. I can't think exactly why for a £5 item, but there we go. Yeah, they keep ticking over. They do a lot better up to Christmas as well, but sealed DVDs in general, they'll always do pretty well. Sealed Disney does amazingly well, and you can generally get good prices on those, as you can with any sort of really famous kids' movies and stuff like that. They tend to do really well, or special editions, box sets, etc. So it cost 99p, sold for $4.99, but only made 11p after the shipping and fees, but still not lost anything. And I'm showing you these things, guys, just to show you that sometimes, yeah, you don't absolutely knock it out of the park on a price or something. You know, we can all sell something and make a little bit of, you know, a few pence on it. It doesn't really matter sometimes, as long as you're making money and it's not costing you more than it's worth. And, you know, if you're having a bit of fun doing it, where's the harm, I say. So move on to the next item. Yeah, Sony, as I said about in my first video, Sony stuff does really well. I enjoy selling it. I stock as much of it as I can and really enjoy it. This was a stereo radio cassette player recorder, so it had a little microphone built in as well. Do be sure to always test microphones on things if it's got one. I have a blank tape that I just use to test everything. It's not blank anymore, obviously, but I always record over it. I just use that to test everything that's got a microphone on it. And I have an old, some sort of 80s metal tape that I use for testing playback. So I have a tape for recording, a tape for playback. I know that they're both good tapes, so any issues with audio quality or anything like that that might come through, if I hear them, it's generally the unit rather than the tape. Always test them on any power supplies that they've got as well. This was battery only, so this only got tested on battery power. I don't supply it with the batteries because it took, from memory, either 4 or 6 D batteries. So it had weighed about 300 weight by the time I put them in it. And I'd have needed some sort of massive, I think, Eddie Stobart to deliver it. But yeah, it sold really quickly. Sold within a couple of days of listing. And I wasn't the cheapest on it either. As I say, with some items, I always try and pitch myself in that upper third. Simply because I think people won't buy the dearest item because they always want a deal. But people similarly might not buy the cheapest item because they wonder, well, why is that so cheap? Where's the catch? We're naturally quite sort of suspicious of things like that as humans. So I don't always aim to be the cheapest on certain things. Stuff like this still sells really well. Older people like them for their simplicity. People that want to take them onto job sites and stuff like that like them for their ruggedness, their dependability, and their volume as well. Being Sony, the dynamic range and the audio quality is great on them, so they're good and loud too. I had positive feedback on that one as well. Cost £3, sold for £26.99 with £13.79 profit after shipping and fees. Buyer paid postage on that one too. Okay folks, a little bit of a jump cut there as my storage space ran out on my phone, so let's crack on with the next item. This is the BT Vision remote that you saw in my first video, another great example of how you can buy an item for pennies and sell them for pounds. This one cost 30p as part of the remote bundle that I bought with cables and whatnot as well. Sold for £14.99 and after shipping and fees I got £8.9 profit. Again, buyer paid postage on that one. It was £3.95 rather than £2.95 because it was slightly too thick to go for a large letter. But it sold the day after it was listed, so it was a really fast turnaround, which I can't fault at all. Like I say guys, people always need remotes. Next item, we've got the men's Merrell Chameleon Slam running, walking, trail climbing shoes. Merrell are a fantastic brand to look out for. They are world renowned for making quality outdoor apparel and footwear. I had a guy in Portugal offering me on these shoes, but he wanted them for now, so he wasn't getting them anytime soon. They did have a slight bit of wear on the heel, which I commented on in the listing. So I was quite open to offers on them, but once again, I had to win. So I think the buyer came to me with about 40 quid thereabouts offer. So I shot him back with 45 and he accepted. So they were up for £54.99. They cost £4.99, sold for 45 and I made £20.23 after shipping and fees. Next item. This is a genuine Apple travel charger. This is the EU round pin one. This came in part of a bundle. I bought a load of chargers and plugs and cables and stuff last year from a local car boot. The lady had them on her store. She was a bit flustered and I think she wasn't having the best of days. I said to her, how much does she want for the bits in this basket? She said, which ones? I said, all of them. So she just said £6 and pulled a random price out from somewhere. When I got it home and inspected it fully, I thought it was probably going to be worth £6 for this one charger alone. Okay, I was wrong in that respect, but when I got it home, I found out there were Apple chargers, Samsung chargers, there was a Bluetooth mobile phone headset in there, there was Bluetooth earphones in there. So I think that little bundle that cost me about £6 has currently made me about 60 to 70 quid, and I've still got items still listed that I'm selling from it. This was a brand new and sealed plug, but I used the stock image there. The lady that bought it was concerned because there's a number of fakes out there on eBay and a lot of disreputable sellers as well. So I sent her pictures of the sealed box and everything with the barcode and you know the picture of the seal showing that it was still intact. And she was more than happy with that. She didn't even message me back. She just paid straight away. Again, she paid postage on that one, £3.95. It was slightly too thick to go through for a large letter. But I am going to now start, I think, when I do use these stock images for new products, I am going to start taking pictures of the actual product that the buyer will receive as well. Again, because it came in that bundle, it's worked out that it cost me 25p. I sold it for £7.99, which was the asking price, so profit after shipping and fees there's £5.64. Next. Diesel jeans. This is something else that I do quite well with. Diesel industry jeans, men's jeans and ladies jeans both do quite well. In my experience, the men's seem to do a little bit better than the ladies, but my experience is by no means exhaustive. There are plenty of resellers out there that you can listen to on clothing where they absolutely specialise in it and they know inside out. But I've always done well with diesel jeans. This is the first pair that I've ever sold that didn't go on an offer, actually. The buyer on these paid full price for them. And I think it was purely because they're still a 2019 model. I'm quite fortunate in that I live, I can get on the, I can you know, just get on the A34, get down to Manchester, or I can get on the motorway and get down to the Cheshire Oaks designer outlet, and I can look at what's currently available in some of these stores and what sort of prices they sell for new. So it really helps with market research, but if you're not so fortunate that you can do that, a great way to do a bit of market research, and something that I sort of started doing very early on when I decided to start selling bits and pieces of clothing. I'm not a fashionable guy. I'm a very much a jeans and jeans t-shirt and a hoodie kind of guy. But I learned so much about sort of clothing trends, things that people like, things that people wear, purely from going sitting in the places like Costa or Starbucks for a couple of hours, having a couple of coffees, and just watching, and just people watching. You know, in the winter, I was watching to see what the most popular styles of coat were that people were wearing, or the most popular brands of coat that people were coming in with. As it gets more towards this time of year, I'm looking at things like the trainers that they're wearing and stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying stalk people around. We wouldn't advocate that sort of behaviour at all. But certainly just kind of people watching in somewhere where your demographic goes. So if you kind of think, okay, I'm going to sell clothing and I'm going to cater to kind of 20 to 30-year-olds, you'll find your demographic in the likes of Costa. And from there, you can kind of see what sort of stuff you should be selling and what sort of brands, even if you're relatively clueless on clothing like I am. And so these are still a 2019 model, which I think is why they sold for the full asking price. I messed this up slightly there. They sold for $59.99. Somehow I managed to keep the profit figure correct because I checked it against my spreadsheet afterwards. But between the first failed shoot of this video and this shoot of this video, I've noticed that that price is wrong. They actually sold for $59.99. So profit after that, shipping and fees was £30 dead. They cost me a fiver. Those are the Diesel Darron jeans. They were an over-dyed black, so they were a really dark black. And they were a really nice quality denim. They were lovely, actually. Very nice jeans. Next, we've got a large format jigsaw puzzle. Sold a lot of jigsaw puzzles. Sold a lot of jigsaw. I did say sold, then it just sounded like I said sold. I sold a lot of jigsaw puzzles up to Christmas. They were doing really well. I buy only new and sealed jigsaw puzzles because I'm not spending the time sitting there counting all the pieces on sort of 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles. Even if it's, you know, something that I could potentially sell for good money. Just, life's too short. I can't count jigsaw pieces. I can't sort Lego. You know, my limit is board games. I'm quite happy to check whether all the pieces are in a board game, but I'm not messing about with stuff that's got umpty million pieces. This one was a large format jigsaw, so it was really good for people with dexterity problems and stuff like that because they are bigger individual pieces. It doesn't really translate very well, but you can see on the box there, that was the actual size of the piece, and this, we're talking a box that was, you know, it wasn't a massive jigsaw, but they're quite big pieces, so you can imagine they're quite easy for people to handle. Buyer paid postage on that one, cost me £2, sold for £9.99, and with a total profit of £3.11 after shipping and fees. IKEA stuff. This is a great little area to buy and sell from. IKEA stuff I've found does well, simply because IKEA's own delivery charges are so ridiculously high. Put it this way, I sold these for $19.99 each, these Ekby Bjarnum shelf brackets. IKEA sell them for $14.99 each. I also charged $3.95 postage on them. And it was still cheaper for the buyer to buy from me than to buy from IKEA. So that just gives you an idea how much their delivery charges are, and if you've got new and sealed IKEA stuff to sell, people are likely to buy it from you just because it's so much easier to buy from eBay than it is to actually go on IKEA's website and do it. Did have a multi-buy discount on these, so it was a case of buy 2 save 5%, buy 3 save 6%. I had 5 or 6 of them originally, and this buyer cleared me out on the last 3. Cost me $7.95 to post them, but they basically cost me £1.99 or £1.49 each. So I wasn't bothered about splitting the cost with the buyer on postage for that one. So total cost there was $5.97. Total selling price after the multi-buy discount was $56.37, meaning I made $26.38 after shipping and fees. Next one, yeah, this was one of my first attempts at retail arbitrage. Now, if you're not familiar with resale terminology, retail arbitrage is basically buying new items from retail stores and trying to sell them at a profit. It is absolutely doable, and some people make a whole lot of money doing it. I have so far not been one of them. I'm a little bit... It's more of a motivation thing for retail arbitrage. I will always go into a charity shop. I will always go to a car boot. I will always go and have a good tap through anything. But when it comes to looking around new stuff, it seems too much like shopping. And I think that's where it starts to get on my nerves a bit. So I have to be in the right mood for retail arbitrage. But these were one of the first retail arbitrage items I ever bought. And they've been this constant reminder to me that I wasn't very good at it. And I'm not a whole lot better at it now. They sold for $34.99, cost me £16. I bought them at final clearance at TK Maxx. and the total profit after shipping and fees on those was a whopping £2.5. The worst thing is, I actually think they're going to be coming back because the lady's not quite sure that they're going to fit. So, yeah, I think they're going to end up coming back as well. So they're going to haunt me, those. But never mind. 'Tis what 'tis. We live and learn. Next. Ah, yeah, this is the final item. And this is the Cadence Sensor that you saw in my first video. I have finally sold it. I say finally sold it. It sold quite quickly, to be honest with you. It sold the same day that I listed it. I did also find out how it worked and what it did. It doesn't attach to the frame of your bike. It attaches to the crank, I think, on your bike. And it measures the rhythm that you cycle at. So it's kind of the efficiency in many respects in the way that you cycle. I thought it was purely just kind of like a musical rhythm thing because that's all I've ever heard of Cadence in terms of like Full Metal Jacket when Ali Ermey's leading the troops around giving it the bit. That is a cadence, don't get me wrong, that's a military cadence, but it's not cadence in this respect because nobody rides a bike round going although, to be fair, this is going to the Netherlands on global shipping program, so you never know, they might do that over there. Cost me a £5. It was a brand new and sealed item, sold for £42.99, made £28.25 after shipping and fees. So more than happy with that one. I did offer free delivery on it. Obviously the buyer will have paid something because he'll have paid it directly to eBay for the global shipping program. But I offered free postage, so it was just I think it went for a large letter as well because it's quite a thin parcel, so it didn't cost me a lot to post. And I think... yeah, that's it, guys. So the total cost of the items that you've just seen came into £73.98. The total value of sales there was £535.79, and the total net profit after all fees and item costs was £242.73. That's over about the course of 7 days, so it's not been my best week on eBay, but it's not by any means been my worst either. And as I said at the beginning, you've got to bear in mind I'm paying back the PayPal working capital at a fairly high rate as well. Out of choice, I might add. So were I not paying that back, I think we'd probably be looking over 300 quid there. Yeah, we'd have probably been looking easily over 300 quid there on for a week's work on that one, 300 quid profit. So happy days, really, all round. Just want to talk really quickly as well, the other fees that I pay. Advertising. I use... eBay's Promote Your Listing system. Big thanks to Nick and Andrea Hills, who are big UK resellers, massive parts of the community, and they actually produced a video on how to sort of use Promote My Listings. I think they were talking to a lady from eBay about it as well, so it was quite an informative video. I don't set my rates very high for advertising, but it is an extra fee. But I just wanted to show you this, just to show you some of the realities of using Promote My Listings. So far, I started this on around about, well, that says 18th of February there, so I probably started this on around about the 19th of February, just looking at where it starts, because the next increment's the 25th. So it's probably about the 19th of February. And from there, you can see what I've had in terms of sales over that period of time. Now, in that period of time, my listings is promoted 616 listings altogether. Those 616 listings have been shown 1.6 million times. Now that can be in eBay searches, but it can also be in adverts on other platforms as well. So when you see pop-up ads on things and stuff like that and it's showing you eBay listings, I believe that eBay Promote Your Listings actually pushes your items into that avenue as well. So those 1.6 million impressions can be from eBay searches and sort of third-party advertising as well, I think. It led to nearly 5,500 people clicking on my listings. So far, I've sold 28 items. Its cost in a total advertising revenue has cost £12.35, and I've made £826.57 in sales. So it's cost me, even if you ignore all of that bit, it's cost me £12.35 to make £826.57 worth of sales. If you're not promoting your listings, you're doing yourself a massive disservice. You can set the percentage to whatever you like, so you can, give them a tiny bit for promoting the listings, you can give them a lot for promoting the listings, it's entirely up to you. if you've got unusual stuff or slightly more quirky left of centre stuff, you don't have to spend a lot on your advertising at all, because you're not going to be trying to get seen over loads of other people with the same thing. So if you're, for instance, selling something that's really, really common, off the top of my head, let's just say you've got a brand new Xbox One game that there's millions of copies out there of, you'll probably have to set your advertising fairly high to get your listing seen over the 93 million other people that have got it listed. But if you've got a rare piece of porcelain or, you know, something along those sort of lines, rare vintage clothing, where the competition level's not quite so high, you're only going to be spending very, very small amounts to promote your listings, because you've not got the competition to go against to have to be seen. So a promoted listing, basically, when you do an eBay search and you see sponsored listings, they've come through Promote Your Listings. So I think that is everything I've got for you today, guys. Yep, that's everything I've got to talk about. Thank you so much once again for your time, both on this video and on my previous video. If you enjoyed the video, leave me a like below. If you didn't enjoy the video, leave a dislike, and by all means leave me comments as to how you think I can improve, what you enjoyed about the video, what you didn't enjoy about the video. Please, you know, if you haven't subscribed already, please do that as well, and encourage others to do likewise. It's been great talking to you all again, guys, and I sincerely hope you have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for your time, and take care. Bye-bye.